amiss is you want this couple of things that wisdom does. So wisdom increases your chances of success. Wisdom increases your chances of success. That's number one. Wisdom increases your peace and joy. Okay, you say, well, Dr. Hall, what do you mean when you say wisdom increases your peace and joy? Meaning that when someone is wise and when someone has information that they can apply for daily living for success, and when this same person allows kingdom to intervene in their life, they're not set off by every little thing that happens, because God begins to give them information to help them understand how to avoid chaos and confusion. And so that is how you have an increase in peace and joy when you have wisdom, right? So you also have to understand that wisdom is a skill that is very much tied to discernment. Wisdom and discernment go hand to hand. Wisdom and discernment go hand to hand. Okay? You said, well, Dr. How, what do you mean when you say wisdom and discernment go hand to hand? Wisdom and discernment go hand to hand because what happens is, it's like wisdom gives you a skill set that allows you to see beyond the surface. And that, in a very similar way, that's what discernment does, right? For example, a couple of years back, I used to be a retention and graduation coach in alternative school. And quite often, the Lord would have me do little things to be a blessing to some of the students, right? So because I did little things to be a blessing to some of the students, periodically, some kids would think they could finesse me. You said, Dr. How, what do you say, finesse? You got a little ratchet there. Finesse meaning that they could try to butter me up to get things out of me, right? Because they thought because I did little nice things that meant I had some money. I was an old cat lady. I had a lot of money. And I was just, because I love Jesus, I'm going to give y'all a whole of my money. That's what they thought, right? But what they didn't understand was, in the very same way that this Holy Spirit or this God that I serve told me to be a blessing to them, he also would allow me to see beyond what they were saying, to see the heart of the matter. And I knew when they were lying, when they were trying to run game, and when they were trying to finesse me, right? More specific, I never forget this one time the Holy Spirit told me, it was one little fella, and he had a child, and the Lord told me, he said, I want you to take about $30 and buy him some Pampers, this, and this, and this. And I was like, okay, Lord. So I did it, and I blessed them. I didn't tell anybody else about it. I just kind of gave it to him and said, this is for your baby. And he was like, oh, wow, thank you, Dr. Hall. Well, after that, periodically, this man thought that meant that he could keep hitting me up for stuff. So he would drop little hints around me, right? Man, I sure do need some so-and-so. But the Holy Spirit will be like, right? And he wouldn't necessarily say it, but he would intimate it. And he'd be dropping these little hints, and inside my head would be like, do, 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 do. Because discernment told me he was trying to finesse. Right? In a very similar way, I remember one time while I was still at the same place, the Holy Spirit had told me, I want you to take about, I think it was like 3 or 4 girls, and I want you to help them buy their prom stuff. Help them buy their prom stuff. Like, you could get, like, maybe you get their hair done, get their little accessories, stuff like that. Not dresses, but like help them get the stuff that they need for prom, right? So I was like, okay, Lord, So it's one little girl who came, and she was like, because this is the thing, whenever God tells you to do something, he's going to also tell you who to do it for. Because he's not just going to have you just giving away his money, putting his seed in bad ground. And some people, even though we were like, thank God, I want you to bless everybody. Now, some people bad ground. For real, for real. Give me a thumbs up if you understand what I'm saying. Some people bad ground. So this one little girl, she said, oh, Dr. Hall, I don't know how. Because I didn't tell anybody about what God had told me to do. I didn't tell anybody. I'm not foolish, right? So one little girl says, oh, Dr. Hall, I just want to go to prom so bad. But I don't know, my mom and them, those tickets, they $40. I don't know how I'm going to go to prom. So the whole time she telling me this about this, because I was about to be like, I was about to. But the Holy Spirit said, don't you open your mouth. So I was just like, so she laying it on thick too. Oh, I just want to go to prom, but my mom don't have the $40, and I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm like, He like, don't you volunteer, don't you say that. So I'm like, I'm still holding my tongue, right? Because I'm like, now in my head I'm thinking, well, Lord, you told me to, help a couple of girls, but she wasn't one of them, right? So I kid y'all not. I kid you not. Either it was the next day or the day after that. Same little girl came to school. She said, Dr. Hall, guess what? I said, what, girl? She said, I got my belly button pierced the other day. Kids can be inappropriate. I'm not asking them this information. This is just her telling me all this stuff, right? She said, I got my belly button pierced the other day. I said, what? I said, why would you get your belly pierced? I just really wanted a piercing. I said, oh, wow. I said, how much you pay for that piercing? $40. Did you catch that? I hope you caught that, right? Duke caught it. So you gonna have me pay for your prom ticket? See, you thought I was simple. And I'm telling y'all, it was so crazy about it. And my best friend and I, we laugh about this quite often. People think that because you love Jesus, that you're going to be simple-minded. What they do that? Don't you know the same Jesus who has told me to be a blessing, tell me when to step back? He is not finna be like, you know what? Get him everything. No, he'll tell me when to bless, how to bless, and who to bless. He's not finna let you pimp me. So we've got to be clear that God gives us wisdom for a specific reason. He gives us wisdom and discernment. They're tied together. But it's going to require, these things are going to require that we listen to the voice of God and that we read his word, right? And so I know for me, especially as of late, I know I have become even more adamant, right? I've become even more adamant that it's not just me kind of reading a couple of scriptures when I wake up or reading a couple of scriptures before I go to bed. Like, I need to have an understanding of a thing, right? I need to have knowledge that I'm able to apply to life. Seriously, because it's a lot of wild stuff that is going on in the world. A lot of wild stuff even going on at your job, right? But God will teach you how to deal.